Good evening, and thank you so much for being here with me again in yet another Liminality interview series. I'm here this evening with Lara Wellman, who is a fellow writer friend of mine we're in the same writing group together, the Authors Collaborative, and Lara just released the really good book, The Laugh Out Loud. I'm not sure you meant it to be as humorous as I found it to be, but it tickled my funny bone. And so relatable, the book, You're Not Lazy, which I love. You have it right there behind you. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight.
Thank you for having me.
I am excited to talk to Lara about a story she tells in her book, is where we're going to start. And she tells a story about learning the diagnosis of her son and then subsequently herself. Would you kind of give us the highlights of what I'm talking about? Tell the viewers what diagnosis happened.
Sure thing. So my 6-year-old kiddo was someone who I thought, I wonder if he has ADHD. There was just some stuff going on, both at home and at school, and I thought, I think there might be. So we went into the process of getting a diagnosis. And when you get a diagnosis, one of the things that you do is you have to fill out all these questionnaires and you're answering questions about your kid. And as I was answering them, I was like, yes, but also, is this relevant? Because this is me. And also, why is this relevant? Because I think that's also me. And so I was just like, oh, what's going on? And then we saw the psychologist and she was like, yeah, he's got ADHD. And I said, as I was filling out this stuff, I recognized myself a lot. And she said, yeah, well, that happens a lot. And first of all, ADHD is, highly hereditary. And also, what a lot of adults with ADHD think undiagnosed is they just think that they're lazy. And I thought, oh, what? Right? I was like, oh, you're calling me out like big time here, because that's what I would tell everybody. I was like, I'm just lazy, like I wore it like a badge of honor because it felt a lot safer than thinking I was screwing stuff up, right? I'm like, oh, I'm not
Sure.
even trying hard. So if you think I could be more successful and I'm not, that's
Yeah,
fine.
it
It's just,
doesn't matter. Yeah.
that's who I am.
But what I love that you talk about in the book too, that I really identified with, is that at the same time, you also were um, achieving these, you had these extreme bouts of energy and focus and could produce like these things that people were like
Yeah.
at the
Um,
same time.
by most people's definition of lazy, I didn't qualify, right? So I was doing quite well, in anything I put my mind to. And I
Right.
had, at that particular time, had run a conference for 250 people 4 years in a row. And I had started a blog and I had started a business. Like I was doing, people are like,
That's the
Lara, why?
superpower side of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the lazy piece was just every time things went wrong, that's all I could see, right? That became, it overpowered all of the good as soon as things didn't work out. And
Wow.
so it became the main thing is maybe I am doing some good things, but I'm still not living up to potential.
Yeah. I'd love for you to take us to the place that you really talk in the book about letting go of societal expectations. And man, I was like standing up cheering, and there's so much self-acceptance to that. And we've talked about self-compassion, self-trust, all being part of self-acceptance. Like, take us through that. What would you tell people who kind of need that mindset shift?
For our whole lives, we've been taught that there's a certain right way of being, right? That's true in like all parts of our lives, from how we're supposed to respect our parents, how we're supposed to behave in class, what a good student looks like,
Color in
right?
the
A good,
lines.
oh, exactly, right? There are so many rules. And so as a result, without anybody necessarily saying, hey, you need to be like this, we have our own internalized perception of what we're supposed to be like. And a lot of those things aren't true. There are so many ways of being, not just the one right way. But when we think there's only one right way, every time we do something different, we're like, I'm doing something wrong. I am not on the
This
right
is
path.
exactly what I talk about in the flexibility chapter in my book. If you just think there's one right way, oh man, preach it.
There is not ever one right way. We need to figure out what the right way is for us. And I know this, I've learned so much about brains since that first diagnosis for my kid and then mine and then other people I know. And we all think and operate differently, which means there are so many different ways to get to the end result that we want. And that's a good thing. It's not one right or wrong. It's never right or wrong.
Yeah.
So when we can accept that maybe we aren't doing things the way we thought we should and
No
think,
shitting on yourselves.
"Oh, shitting on yourself, how would I like to do this? Not what should I do right now, but like what would I like to do right now? What do I want to do right
Because
now?"
I can trust me to make those choices, right? Yeah,
And there's
I got
nothing wrong
this.
with it. And you think, okay, that's what I want. That's how I want to do it. That's what I'm going to do. When you can accept that you might want to do things differently than others do, and there's nothing wrong with that, what a load off to not feel like you're doing it wrong. Because I really believe one of the things that makes life the hardest is how hard we are on ourselves for things,
Yeah,
right? The weight of shame of
yeah,
being wrong, oh, it's heavy. And when we can let some of that go without changing anything else, we suddenly feel lighter. And that's
yeah.
just so important.
It's lighter. I have this sense of like, even just hearing you talk about it, like, ah, yes, it's lighter. And it's also like, I feel like this shooting energy out the top of my head, like it's empowering.
Mhm.
Like or as our fellow author Rebecca Clays says, you shed the should. and and for me, that's very like, oh, I'm forward motion, right? Like I'm not being held back anymore. I talk in my book too about community and drawing in community and connection around us. And when you say shame, one of the things I immediately go to is like isolation. Um, do you have any thoughts around how we can make connection to push shame back in the shadows?
Yeah, I think when you find other people, I think community is so important. And I think there are people who are probably already sharing stories that you're going to see make it so that like we carry all this I'm the only one who can't do this. I'm the only one getting this wrong. Why do I? Why do I? Right? Like this is all like swirling in our head. One of
100%.
the reasons I wrote my book, one of the reasons I share stories where I can is because I see how big of a difference it makes to people to for them to understand they're not the only one who feels a certain way.
Yeah, share. I kind of lit up when you just said sharing stories. That's kind of been my big kick recently. Is man, Laura, I just think that's how we heal the world. You
Mm,
know, we heal and have some sort of discovery for ourselves. We share that. We share our stories with other people, and then somebody can go, "Oh, maybe my this could look a different way," or and then they get curious, and then they begin to change and grow and heal. And man,
there's
100%,
there's been a lot of stuff that we don't talk about, right? Like there's
right?
so many things. And the more we start talking about this stuff, the more we realize like lots of people feel this way. And so I think that really makes a difference. It when we can release that shame and see that we're not alone, it's just like it's again, I say it over and over again. It's why um, I wrote the book because for me, for whatever reason, a lot of this stuff is easy for me to talk about. It
Mhm.
doesn't take a lot of bravery. I'm just like, yeah, here, let me tell you this story.
Yeah.
And people will be like, wow, you're so brave. And I'm like, okay, well, it doesn't feel like it requires bravery, so I'm going to keep doing it because I also just get the feedback from people
Mhm.
that like, wow, I feel seen suddenly. Oh my goodness, I didn't realize other people felt this way.
Yeah.
And I think there's community for everybody, and sometimes you just don't know to go look for it.
Yeah. Yes. Amen. And opening yourself up to that is big time one of the things I suggest too. I love it. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight. This was really good to be able to powwow with you. I love how many intersections our books have because that's how many intersections our hearts have and our stories have. So thank you for being with me. And everybody else, I hope you will tune in for the next Liminality interview series in a couple of days. And until then, keep being your authentic selves.